Hey guys, I'm Jill Powell and I am joined by the beautiful Miss Ariel today. And guess what? It is her wedding day. She is getting married today. So my beautiful bride is going to be walking down the aisle and I am going to show you how to get bridal glam, whether you're doing your own makeup for your wedding or if you're a makeup artist and you do bridal and you want all my tips and tricks on how to do beautiful skin that's gonna last and that's waterproof for all your brides, then stay tuned. So the most exciting thing about this look is that you're getting married today.
Yes.
You are getting married.
I know.
Ah! So I love bridal makeup because you're just gonna feel so beautiful and your skin's gonna be amazing and your eyes are gonna be amazing. It's gonna all pop out and it's just gonna look fabulous. So bridal makeup is so important to just have somebody professional do your makeup. And you're a makeup person, you love makeup.
Oh yes.
You know all these things. You already prepped, she prepped her skin for me. I mean, what a model. Moisturizer, and then I was like, what about eye cream? You did eye cream. See, she knows what she's talking about, guys. So she's already prepped, and now we're gonna go into just perfecting everything. Are you ready?
I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the biggest thing about bridal makeup is longevity, making it look good on camera, and waterproofing. You might cry.
Oh, for sure.
Waterworks.
Yeah.
I'm a crier.
Yeah.
I'm for sure a crier. So you've got to make sure that everything is waterproof. And the number one thing that I always use, and I've pretty much used this since the day it came out because it's my tried and true. It really is the Hourglass Veil Primer on the face. Swear to God, you guys, it makes everything waterproof. Okay, so this primer is amazing. I feel that, I don't know if it technically waterproofs. I feel like it does. There's also waterproofing sprays. I do love the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix setting spray or like Urban Decay All Nighter or something along those lines just to set everything at the end. But this is like your priming product to make sure that everything stays put. I've had people tear or sweat on stage and literally just blot it off and the makeup looks like nothing has moved. I mean, dream. Okay, so I'm taking a foundation brush. This is MAC 190. And I'm just going to apply the primer all over, and you wanna make sure that it hits every area of her face. Because again, we want this to stay. We want, if there's any tears, nothing to move at all today. So we're just gonna put it all over, especially under those eyes, all along the nose, chin. You even conditioned your lips for me. Mm-hmm. And you said you scrubbed them?
And I exfoliated my face before.
I mean, I love this. I love this, making my job easy. All right, so we're just going to continue with this primer all over. What's nice about this primer, it's mineral based, so it's actually pretty good for your skin. It does have a little SPF in there. Don't worry about flashback or anything like that because you're putting foundation on top, so you don't need to worry. It does have a tiny little white cast, so the only time I don't love this primer is on like a deeper skin tone because it can turn a little bit purple. And then just turn this way. There you go. Yeah. I gotta see over on this side of the face. But you can see it does matte out the skin a little bit. So it's got some mattifying properties, but it doesn't like make you too matte where you look dry or cakey. I just love it. All right, so we've got that all over. How's that feel?
Good.
Good? All right. Now we're gonna go into foundation. Okay, so I've selected two different foundations. I'm gonna show you them. So we have the MAC Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof, notice waterproof, foundation, which is really great. It looks like skin, it has a little bit of a glow, great coverage, and again, it's waterproof, so great for brides. So then my second one is the BECCA Ultimate Coverage Complexion Cream, and this one's like a fuller coverage. It does have more of a matte finish, but again, great coverage, stays on really, really well, and with that primer, it's going to be somewhat waterproof. The biggest difference in my two foundations is one has more of a pink undertone and one has more of a yellow undertone. So she's pretty neutral. She's definitely more yellow in her chest. She has a little bit of pink surface tones on her face. So I don't want to make her too yellow or too pink, which is why I chose one color from each undertone. And I'm starting on the perimeter of the face, and I'm just going to, this is the BECCA, which is more of a yellow undertone, which will match her neck. So that's why we are starting there. And I'm just getting the product on and just really perfecting so that there is no discoloration. Everything is nice and blended, blending that jawline. And I love working in sheer layers. I just believe that you get a better finish, you get better coverage. So don't try to put on too much at once. Just work in these sheer layers. And as you can see, I'm just going over and over wherever I feel like I need a little bit more. But the sheer layers are going to give you the most natural skin looking finish. And it will make it stay on. It's looking good on you. I'm just using like a patting motion to kind of press in on areas that she needs a little bit more coverage. And then have you turn towards me. And because this foundation has medium to full coverage, you can do those sheer layers and it's going to cover. So if you find that you need coverage and your foundation is not giving you the coverage, you need to change foundations to a fuller coverage. Because what happens is if you have something too sheer and you're trying to cover, you're going to layer it so thick to get that coverage. But if you have something fuller coverage, you can wear it really sheer and it won't be heavy on the face. You don't want to have too heavy of foundations on the face. So definitely up your coverage if you feel like you need it, or go in with a concealer to do those spot concealing areas. So we're just continuing with this BECCA foundation. Again, sheer layers. I'm liking the color, so I may or may not use that other one, although I feel like it'll give a little bit of warmth to the skin and just make it look really pretty. What's your favorite foundation? What do you use?
For the drugstore, definitely the Maybelline Superstay.
Okay.
I love it because it's full coverage, but it feels very light on the skin. Mm-hmm. And then for more higher end, I absolutely love the Urban Decay All Nighter foundation.
I have that in my kit. I should have pulled it out for you.
No, I really wanted to see what you would use because I love using different products and seeing how they wear on my skin.
Yeah, definitely.
It's always just fun to play with makeup.
I always say, like, I seriously have, and granted I'm a makeup artist, but I probably have in my own bathroom 12 to 15 foundations I rotate between. I know I'm a hoarder. It's really, really bad. But for the average person, I suggest 2 to 4. Like your colors change. Sometimes you want to go lighter. Sometimes you want to go heavier. Sometimes it's an event and you need it longer wearing. Sometimes you're just, running errands and maybe you want like a tinted moisturizer. There's so many different reasons. I also always use 2 to 3 colors on my own face every day. So there's 3 foundations right there. But I do, it's like a wardrobe. You're not just going to have one outfit. Who has one outfit?
No.
Nobody. I mean, I wear like the same 5 colors, which is fine. You might wear the same 5 colors of foundation, but some days you feel like dressing up and some days you feel like wearing sweats. There you go. Same thing with your foundations.
Well, and for me, when the seasons change, my skin goes from super oily in the summer to super dry in the winter.
Okay, how dry have you been this winter?
It's ridiculous.
I think this has been the driest winter. Like my skin has been like the Sahara Desert. It's so dry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's been crazy. Okay, this one looks really good on you too. So now I'm using the MAC waterproof right in her cheeks for a few different reasons. One, it has that little bit more, it's NW20, which has that more neutral undertone. And so it's just gonna bring a little bit of color to her cheeks. But also, what was it? It was waterproof. Where do we cry? Right there. Waterproof that area, guys. You're gonna cry a little bit or a lot?
I actually don't know yet.
You haven't planned that out? You haven't planned how much you're going to cry?
No, because I don't know what he's going to say. So.
Oh, did you guys write your own vows?
Yes.
Okay. I'm already going to cry thinking about it because that gets me every time.
Yeah.
Oh, cute. Okay, so we are just perfecting again the center of her face. And as you see, I'm just going over these areas, sheer layers, guys. I will say it until the day I die, which will hopefully be like 100 years from now, but sheer layers. Because it just goes on so much better. Your skin's gonna look more like skin. And for those of you that love your beauty blenders, I do too. I've had a lot of questions about them, and I find that you might be using them wrong. So a lot of influencers or tutorials out there, they put a lot on at once, and then the beauty blender will like help to smooth it out and take off any excess. If you're working how I work in your sheer layers, you have to be careful with your beauty blender because it's going to take off excess. So some people have said that they found that it's removing too much product, but that's good, it's a good thing. But what I would do is do your sheer layers like I am, and at the very end, press it into the skin and remove any excess. You may not have as much excess as if you were to put on a lot of product. So that might be your difficulties. Just to answer that question, as you can see, I haven't used a beauty blender yet, but I will. So I'm just pressing, adding that coverage. It's looking good so far. How's it feel?
It feels actually really light.
Feel good?
Yeah.
It's because my sheer layers. Do you like to be more matte or dewy? What's your...
It honestly depends. Usually in the summer, I like to be really matte because,
you get
that
dewy.
oil will come through.
Yep.
But right now, I'm actually really loving putting a drop of oil into my foundation to give me more of a dewy look and also to keep my skin nourished throughout the day.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
changes during seasons.
Isn't that so funny? I love it. So I love that you talk about that because it is important with the changing of the seasons to change up your makeup routine, change up your skincare routine. We change up our wardrobe, we change up our clothes. You don't wear a tank top when it's 30 degrees outside. So same thing with makeup. Like the air is different, the weather is different. So you definitely need to alter your skincare routines and your makeup routines. So I'm using my finger to press in just because I love how using hands on the face will give like a really pretty skin-like texture. So it's kind of acting like a beauty blender. I got to get mine wet. I haven't done that yet. So now I'm going to mix the two. A little scientist over here. I love mixing. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit more. I could go in with concealer too and add where I feel like I need, which I may do. But I just want to get the skin perfected how I want it first. And then just chin towards me a little bit. Make sure I get all the way down here. And the BECCA foundation is pretty matte, so I may or may not need powder or even a lot of powder. Since it is her wedding day, I probably will do some powder just to make sure that everything stays put and is on there and all set and nice and pretty and perfected. Because the last thing I want is in a couple hours for you to look like you didn't get your makeup done. Okay, so now I'm going to use whatever residual I have on my hand, and I am loading up my beauty blender with it because there's not much left, but I don't want to take off too much of the foundation that I've already put on her skin, but I do want to press it in and make sure that everything is nice and smooth and even and perfect. I just want to make sure my texture is nice and soft. I'm also going to just bring a little bit down on her neck. When you're doing any bride or anything that's going to be photographed, especially TV or anything like that, you want to make sure that the way pictures work and flashes work is makeup will either absorb or bounce that product. So if you don't have that color continued on the neck, you're going to notice a differentiation, even if that color matches perfectly. So you want to always bring at least a really sheer layer down on the neck because that is going to make sure that everything photographs seamlessly. I've even seen people on red carpets literally put makeup all anywhere where you can see. I get nervous with that because I don't like it to transfer onto clothing, but you definitely can. Okay, so we're gonna go into concealer and I'm gonna do some under eye, around the nose, and this one's BECCA Ultimate Coverage. So another really great full coverage, kind of longer wearing concealer. And I actually chose 2 colors. I've got, geez, BECCA, every time, like these are so hard to read. I think that's cream. Yeah, cream. You gotta catch the light right with these ones. Cream and birch. Okay, seriously, like, you wear glasses though, but
I can see it. No.
it's hard, right?
It's so tiny.
It's very tiny. Making me feel old, BECCA. All right, so we've got cream and birch. One's more pink, one's more yellow. And just go ahead and look up for me. We're just going to perfect her under eye area first. So I'm gonna go all the way to her lash line. She has a little bit of discoloration underneath her lash line. She doesn't have any dark circles or anything, but we want to make sure it's nice and perfect. My hands are a little cold, I'm sorry.
No, it feels good.
A little depuffing action. I like to put the concealer on and then press it in with my finger. I just find that it gives, again, that's your sheer layer, it gives more of a natural finish and just really makes the concealer melt into the skin. You don't want it to sit on top because you want it to look really natural, especially under this eye area. It can look a little unnatural at times. Nice, I like that. So I've just mixed the 2 colors. The yellow is going to be a little bit more brightening as far as light and darkness goes. Her under eye color is a little bit more of that reddish purple. So yellow is actually going to be more of a beneficial color for her to counteract that redness or that purple color. If you have a lot of blue, then that's when you want to go more that peachy tone, something with a little more orange to it. But she doesn't really have any blue. She has more of that like reddish violet. So we're going more yellow under her eyes. Thanks. And we're going to go all the way in the inner corner, just all the way up. And again, using your finger, pressing in everything, making that concealer just one with the skin. We're also going to take the same concealer and just brighten around her nose. Always get the underside of the nose. Sometimes people forget that. So again, around the nose, a little bit around the mouth. I always do a little around the mouth because I find that when you're doing your lip color, it just makes it pop, makes it stand out. Cool. I might do a tiny bit of spot concealing. This little black fleck that keeps chasing me somewhere. All right. I just want to make sure we've got every little spot completely covered. Okay, so we have foundation concealer on. I'm gonna wait to set it. I wanna go into contour, blush, highlight, all those fun things, and then at the very end, set everything so that the whole look is on there and stays on there throughout your wedding and makes you look so beautiful today. So we're gonna move into contour, and I'm gonna be using the Elcie Bronzers. This one is light. The colors are just so fantastic. Light all the way through dark, just really complement the skin. They warm it up. They just give this beautiful color. So we're gonna do light, which is definitely a lighter tone, but it's going to, on her skin tone, it will show up and it will give her some contour. I'm gonna use just like a small angled brush. This one's from Glam. So fancy. Tapping off the excess, and I'm just going to kind of chisel out a little bit of her cheek. Came on real strong in the beginning, so now I'm blending that out. But we want to give her a nice, solid cheek. Yes, good color on you. Do you contour every day?
Yes.
And what do you use?
Actually, I usually use the bronzer by Physicians Formula.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so light enough that it gives me like the perfect contour shade because I am so fair.
Yeah. So with fair skin, you really got to pick the right shade. So that's good to know that Physicians Formula has some good lighter tones. I've used a few of their products. but I haven't tried their bronzers.
I love the smell of them. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So good.
This one's really good too. This one is by Elcie, but it just gives you that like perfect warm color, not too orange, not too brown. It's like a perfect neutral. So we're just kind of blending it to make sure that it looks nice and pretty and neutral. I'm going to give her a little bit along her jawline as well. Not too much, but I do want to create a little bit of shadowing there. Yeah, that's pretty. I'm going to apply it right on this cheekbone. Kind of create our line and blend. Using really soft, kind of patting and pressing and pulling motions. I don't want to move the foundation that I've put on there, but I want to make sure that I'm blending as I go and getting the color exactly where I want it to be. So really light touch. A lot of people say that they have to set their foundation before they do contour because it gets muddy. I don't know. Mine never gets muddy, so I don't know if what I'm doing differently. I feel like maybe it is the sheer layers. So I'm getting product, tapping it off and going in. So you'll notice I go in quite a few times to build. I just feel that when you build your makeup, you get so much more of that blended, beautiful finish, and you're not having to like put too much on and then take it off. And again, just kind of creating a little bit of a shadow in her jaw. This is really great for photos. You don't want to look like you have a beard or anything like that. You just want to create a little bit of shadow. So I'm only using residual. I'm not dipping into my brush and drawing a line. I'm just kind of creating that shadow. And then bringing that down on the neck is important too. So I'm going to give her a little bit of color in her chest. And you don't have like a huge forehead, so I'm really not going to contour your forehead that much. I might give you a little bit of color on it, but I don't want to do too much as far as like shadowing the outside because I don't want to make it look too small. You got to kind of, and your nose too, you have like a perfectly skinny nose. So if I contoured right here, I could do just a tiny bit for photos, but if I do too much, it's going to look really paper thin, and you don't want that.
No.
So what I might do instead of contouring it is just take a little bit of the bronzer and just kind of go like that, and then we'll take a little bit of concealer through the center at the very end. And that way you're bringing that color, you know, from the perimeter, from your cheeks into the nose too, so that it's not just a really light nose. And then it will all just kind of blend together, but then you're not doing the exclamation point or anything. So you don't want to make it too tiny. Okay, so I have sculpted your face, and now let's bring some color. You've got color going on with the bronzer, but definitely want to bring some blush. So every bride needs color on their face. They're wearing a lighter color, whether it's white or ivory or champagne. For the most part, some brides wear black or whatever color, so whatever you feel like wearing. But if your bride is wearing a lighter tone, you definitely need color in their cheeks because the lightness will wash them out, and you want them to look happy and healthy and glowy and just radiant on their wedding day. So blush is super, super important. And you're wearing dark colors right now, but a lot of times if they're wearing dark colors, you can put something white up against it to see how it's going to read. Okay, so we're gonna move into blush, and I'm gonna use my NARS palette here, and I'm gonna use a color called Crave. It's kind of like a neutral pink. I'm gonna give her a nice color to her cheeks. I mean, she could even go pink. It is your wedding day. All right, we're gonna do a little mixture of these guys right here. Blushing bride. And I'm just using like a kind of fluffier brush. This one's the Sigma Spotlight Duster F37. Add to that pink. Get that blush on your cheeks. My shoulder popped on that one. All right. Okay, because it's your wedding day, I want to set everything and make sure it's on there. I am going to use a little bit of powder foundation. and translucent. So I'm using a little bit of both. So I have the NARS Velvet Matte Soft Velvet Pressed Powder. So I guess it's not quite a powder foundation. I do feel like it has some coverage. This color, as you can see, matches like her chest area. Like that's gonna be that perfect yellowy neutral, not too yellow, not too pink. And then I've got MAC Mineralized Skin Finish. This is like one of the older ones, sorry guys. But it's in medium, so it has a little bit of warmth to it. And then I have the Veil Hourglass Translucent Powder. And I'm just using the top because I don't need a lot. But that's what I'm gonna probably set under her eyes with. So I've got a couple different brushes that we're gonna work with as I poke you with one of them. So we're gonna start with the Velvet Pressed Powder from NARS. I think that this color is going to be probably the closest to her skin tone. So I wanna do this around the perimeter just so that that transition to her jawline is seamless. Yes, that's so pretty. I'm not gonna cover up the contour I did down here. So I'm just gonna go pretty much anywhere around the perimeter of her face, just to make sure it's nice and perfected. I'm also gonna do this in the center of her forehead, down her nose. Remember we did that little bit of bronzer on her nose, so again, I may or may not set the little sides. I'm gonna use the same one just right here on her cheeks, just to press everything in. Awesome. I'm gonna go in with that skin finish, do a little bit on the perimeters. I'm gonna soften her cheeks with that a little bit to set. The blush and bronzer do set a little bit because they are a powder. So you don't always have to go over those areas. And then I'm gonna go in, actually, I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush. This one is an old MAC one. It's the 225. So basically it's like a large blending brush. So I'm not sure if they still make it because it's really old. Let me go ahead and look up for me. I'm gonna go ahead and press her concealer in one more time, just since there was a tiny bit of creasing. You don't wanna set a crease. And then I'm just gonna go in and lightly pat and press her concealer and setting it with the translucent powder. I don't like to pack a ton of powder under the eyes. I don't like it to look dry under the eyes. I don't like flashback under the eyes. So you don't want to do too much, just a little bit. And I'm kind of like, I'm not really like lifting too much. I'm just kind of pressing and moving along. I find that it just really works that product in. Makes that concealer one with the skin. And go around the nose too. We do not want to get shiny around the nose or the chin or the inner brows. Okay, you have a lot done, but your brows are not done. You probably don't feel done until your brows are done, right?
No.
We all need our brows done. So tell me a little bit, just because I haven't seen you with your brows done, because I met you today.
Yeah.
I know your sister.
Yeah. So usually when I do my brows, I use a combination of a pencil and a brow pomade. Just because I like to do kind of like a sparse inner brow, and then I like to do a little bit thicker on the outer edge, and then I use a couple different colors to make it look more natural.
Perfect.
I'm a little high maintenance.
No, that's good. Do you do like a really tapered brow? Like what's your...
Yeah, I usually do it really tapered at the end, a little more fluffy on the inner corner.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start with like a finer tipped pencil. This one is by NARS. And I'm just going to start and draw out the tail end of the brow. You usually use a pomade, but a lot of my pomades have dried out. So I tend to stick with pencils in my kit a little bit more. We're gonna get your tail end to look really perfect. And this one is one of the blonde colors. What is it? Blonde Cool. We're just going to kind of fill in and get this brow nice and perfected. I tend to love pencils that have the little spoolie on the other end because I like to kind of direct the hair as I'm coloring. So I'm just going to get that tail end filled in. And this one's definitely a little bit lighter. I may go back in with a really neutral brow pencil to give a little bit more definition. I'm going to go along the bottom here, and I'm just going to flick upwards you said you like the beginning to be like more fluffy and natural, right? Not so squared off and strong.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. I'm just going to give her a natural brow in the beginning. I am going to go back in with my Hourglass pencil. This one is brunette. Nope, it's not. It's warm blonde. So I've got a cool blonde and a warm blonde. And then this one's a little bit deeper and I would say more neutral. So I'm going to go along the bottom and just really kind of carve out the bottom of the brow to give a little bit more definition. And then flick upwards like I do. Fill in any sparse areas. Spoolie and draw. And these Hourglass ones are kind of shaped in a triangular shape. So it's almost like working with like an angled brush, which is pretty cool. Concentrating. Sorry, guys. Nice. All right, so she is getting some brows in there. Look at the difference a brow makes. I mean, it's insane. Brows, no brows. I am going to take just a little bit of brow powder. It's looking a little warm to me, which in my mind, warm means it has too much of that like reddish undertone. So I'm going to go in with a really neutral shade. This one is medium brown and it's the lighter shade in Anastasia Brow Duo powder. And I'm just going to fill in the bottom part. She just went blonde, so I want to keep her brows a little bit more on that kind of taupier side. And doing the powder over pencil, again, will help with longevity, and it's just correcting the color a little bit. Much better. I hear that one. Look at that camera. I mean, crazy. Okay, check that out while the plane's here. Is this like...
Oh, this is so much better than what I do.
Are you sure? I want to make sure you look like yourself, though.
Mine usually don't look like sisters. They look like distant cousins. So
we talk about that a lot. Adam knows my sister and twins and...
But yeah, no, I love it.
Okay.
I love the color.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, it was... The pencils were good, but then they had a little orange in them, and I was like, I'm going to cool it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are going to... Actually, on the other side, I started at your arch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Twist up a little bit more. We're just going to get this tail end nice and perfected. Fill in a little bit. What's nice is your brows are kind of sparse, so you actually can create whatever shape you want. You don't have a lot obstructing you, which is nice.
It's one of the nicer things.
All right, I'm going to get this drawn on. And this was the NARS pencil. It's a little bit more cool. And then I'm going to go in with the Hourglass pencil, which is a little bit more warm. And then we are going to finish it off with a nice neutral kind of taupey shadow. All right, so I've got most of my shape there. Okay, going with my pencil. This is the Hourglass Arch pencil, and it is a little bit deeper, so I'm really just concentrating it on the bottom of the brow for the most part to get that nice and defined. I'm going to fill in a few of these really sparse areas because it needs a little bit more depth. And then I'm going to take this pencil and just flick up. So when I'm doing brows on other people, I anchor my pinky. So if you are a makeup artist, I don't like to just come in because your hand could be shaky. I just like to anchor it. So a lot of people will have like a powder puff or something. I'm sorry, I work off my pinky. It just helps me. So it really just makes it perfected. Like if you go get your nails done, you notice that's how they keep really perfect. They have their pinky to anchor. So nice little tip. I even do it on myself when I'm doing my lip liner and stuff. Just a good way to anchor your hand. All right, so I'm gonna brush this through and then we're gonna finalize it with the brow powder to perfect. Okay, so just going back in and perfecting. And this is the Anastasia brow brush. So it's like an angled brush and it has a little spoolie on the end. So it's really nice because it's got everything you need in one brush. And it's a little bit more firm than some of the other ones that I use. So you get a very crisp, kind of perfect placement of the powder. Or you could use it for your pomade as well. Nice sharp right there. Maybe turn just a little bit. Sorry. Get this nice, good tail end. And then we're gonna soften the beginning. So I'm turning my brow brush, instead of going side to side, I'm turning it like up and down. So I've got the longer part facing down, and that's just going to help kind of draw almost like hairs in there. And then brush it all through. Okay, we've completed brows. Most of Complexion is done, so she is nice and concealed. You've got contour, you've got your blush, you've got your brows. Now we need her glow. I love my glow, and when you're doing bridal, you want a little bit of glow, but you don't want it to be too crazy where bridal, a lot of the time you want to be timeless. So we don't want to go too crazy where we look back and go, oh my gosh, guys, what were we thinking in those days when we were like glowworms shining bright like a disco ball? So I always do it where it's going to look beautiful and like her healthy skin glow. This one is a stronger highlight. It's the Amreezy highlighter from Anastasia, but you're getting married outside, right? In like a little courtyard area. So because it's outside, she can handle a little bit more. We don't have a lot of studio lights and things like that. You have natural light. So you can handle a little bit. And this one just has the most beautiful golden undertone, which is going to really complement your skin tone. Just a tiny bit on the nose. I'm not going to go crazy because, again, we don't want to look back in years past. Look back in years past. No, look back.
In the past.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We don't want to look back in a bunch of years and be like, what were we thinking? I already say that about half the things at my wedding, and I tried to make my wedding as timeless as possible, but I had my hair up and I was like, why didn't I have it down? Well, it was windy, that's why I didn't have it down. You know, and I had my French manicure, which I thought was like super timeless, but they were also kind of long nails. I don't know, just different things that, you know, go out of style. They were like long and square, so I don't really like long and square nails anymore. I like mine short, but it just, you know, you can't control it. So we're gonna try and be as timeless as possible. So don't overdo the highlighter on your brides. All right, guys, we have finished our complexion, and I hope you like the final look. I hope you like the final look.
I'm loving it so far. It's so beautiful.
Amazing. So again, she's getting married today, so we need longevity. We need it looking perfect in photos. So I went ahead and primed with that Hourglass primer. It waterproofs it. It makes it stay all day. I used two different foundations, the MAC Pro Longwear Nourishing to, again, it's waterproof, it's gonna stay all day, and then the BECCA Ultimate Coverage, which gives great coverage. The color was really great for her skin as well. So those two in combination, and then we went ahead and concealed with the BECCA Ultimate Coverage Concealer under the eyes, did a tiny bit of spot concealing. We set with 3 different powders. I know, I don't always use powder, but we set with 3 different powders today. So we have the Veil Translucent from Hourglass under her eyes, just to set that concealer in place. And then I used the NARS Velvet Pressed powder in the majority of her face with just a tiny bit of the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish powder kind of to warm everything up and just give a really nice finish to the skin. We contoured with Elcie Blush, which is the light color, and again, it looks really great on your skin tone. Anytime you're working with a lighter skin tone, you have to be careful with your contour color. So Elcie nailed it, great bronzers, and that looks awesome on you. We did kind of like a peachy pink blush from the NARS blush palette. We highlighted with the Anastasia Amreezy, and we did her brows with 2 different brow pencils, one from Hourglass, the arch brow pencil, as well as the NARS kind of finer tip pencil, and then finished off with Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in that medium brown, that taupey, that lighter shade in that medium brown duo. And you are all set. I mean, skin is done. We can move on to the rest of your bridal look, but for this video, your skin is done. And if you wanna get a look like this, just follow along, and I hope you can achieve this beautiful look as well. Thanks again for watching my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below what you want to see next. All of the products used in my video are also linked below. And if you want to see more, follow me anywhere at Jill Powell Glam. Thanks again.